Dusty may be the dark horse candidate and possibly bring some magic to West End. Who knows? Again, the coaching search rages on. Let's buckle up and let's get after it.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton, a former Rivals employee and high school football coach. So today we're going to explore why Dusty May would be a great hire for Vandy and how he was able to get FAU a berth in the Final Four last season, how he's a wizard at NIL, and Vandy football spring practice is kicking off, and they're not going to have a traditional spring game. Is that going to be a problem? We'll discuss it here. But thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So Dusty May is a name that I've seen brought up in this Vandy basketball coaching search. Now, why is that name important? Now, I've heard Pat Kelsey, you've heard Chris Mack, all that good stuff. But I think if you can get Dusty May with the job that he's done at FAU, and I know I talked about Will Wade, but Dusty May would be another home run. Like, I think there's several home run hires out there. Dusty May is one of them for certain. Yesterday's episode, I'll tell you why Will Wade is one of them, and then maybe we'll talk some more candidates as we go. But what stands out to me about Dusty May, okay, when you think of Florida Atlantic basketball, FAU basketball, do you think that they're a powerhouse? No, they're not. All right. But why is that important? Well, that's important because last season they made it to the Final Four. And he is at the helm of that. He had the most wins in school history, most conference wins in school history and Conference USA history, longest winning streak in school history, and the third longest streak in Conference USA history at 20 games. They had 35 wins, were the most of all of Division I in that season, and 3 short of the all-time record of 38 wins in a season. So some other stats that kind of bolster this idea that Dusty May would be the guy to be able to come in and really make a huge difference at Vandy. Well, he had some program records as well, stat-wise. They had most points, 3,330 or 3,035, field goals made, 1,084, three-pointers made, 375, rebounds, 1,519, and assists, 562. He won. John L. Davis won Conference USA Sixth Man of the Year. He was first team All Conference USA and NABC first team All District recognition. Elijah Martin was also on the All Conference USA first team. Was also named to the NABC second team All District honors. They finished number 5 in the USA Today coaches poll. So, one of the things that stands out. Okay. One of the things that these stats back up, and he's done this. He took over this program, and they had a winning record for the first time since 2011 when he took over in he took over the 18-19 season. That was the first time they had a winning record since 2011, 2012, and they weren't that great even then. So, what these stats tell you, okay? I just threw a bunch of numbers at you, and I apologize for that. But what these stats actually tell you is that one of the things that Vandy falls short at, and this is something that Will Wade was also good at, Dusty May is also really good at this. One of the things that Vandy fell short at was rebounds, three-point shooting, and just shooting in general, okay? I know it seems silly to say that there's emphasis on shooting in the sport of basketball because that's what basketball is. But when you look at these numbers, just how good they were compared to the rest of the conference and how good this team was compared to other teams in this program history, it goes to show you that like shooting is more than just good technique, which you work on that too. But shooting is more about, especially in a team sport, is more about finding the right looks, finding uncontested shots, and having the discipline to pass the ball if you don't have a good shot. And it seemed like at times that Vanderbilt was taking ill-advised shots. They were throwing the ball away. Sometimes they got too unselfish and made too many passes. Sometimes they just couldn't capitalize on open threes, and they just didn't have the confidence. There were some things that were off with Vandy in shooting, and they went cold for long stretches. And when you as a program, and I don't want to go over like all the stats from every single year because this would be like me reading numbers, and you guys don't want to hear that. But when you have as many as 3,000 points in a season, when you've made 1,084 field goals, A, you understand offensive scheme. B, you guys work these situations enough to where you feel comfortable shooting in certain situations. And then B, you're getting the right guys in the right situation to make these shots. Like you're getting your good 3-point shooters open looks. Vandy didn't do that. And then when they did, it almost seemed like they panicked because like, oh God, I don't know what to do here. There's some indecisiveness a little bit. Rebounds. When you get absolutely outclassed on the boards, there is no chance to make shots. Like those numbers aren't there if you're not getting rebounds and second chance looks. Assists, again, that speaks to ball movement. So I just think this guy has a really good understanding of scheme. He has a really good understanding of the sport of basketball and how it needs to happen for them to, for them to gel, for them to understand. So communication is key, which it seems like they got ball movement, shooting, rebounding, and taking care of the basketball. Not, turnovers are going to happen in basketball probably more so than most sports. But when you have the discipline to make your opponent beat you, this is a really, really good thing. So just watching them play is exciting brand of basketball. And you can tell these guys play, they play together. They play for each other. There's a really good culture that's been established at Florida Atlantic. And I think that's a reason why they didn't lose anybody from their Final Four team to the portal. Some of that's NIL. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, a lot of that style of play, a lot of that is culture, and what Dusty May has built around this program. It makes people want to stay, right? And it makes people want to support the program, which is important because one of the things that this coach needs to be able to do, whether it's Dusty May, Pat Kelsey, Will Wade, Chris Mack, I don't think it's going to be the dude from Indiana State. I'm hearing he's going to St. Louis University, so he might be out, or Bucky McMillan, like whoever it is. I think there's a lot of home run guys out there. Pat Kelsey has his team in the NCAA from College of Charleston, but right now we're focused on Dusty May. But what these guys have to do, all right, they have to do the things that I just talked about: improve the shooting, improve the communication, and improve the team culture, because those things don't exist right now at Vandy. Like I don't think the team culture, I don't think it was overly toxic. Like I think Stackhouse did a decent job at the team chemistry, team culture. I think people enjoyed playing for Jerry Stackhouse. I think people, I don't think people hated him. I don't think it was toxic. I just don't think it was a culture that really focused on team building and chemistry and things like that. It didn't go to that next level that you have to have in college. It was kind of at that, like at the pro level, you just kind of have to coexist and get the ball to your stars and just kind of coexist and, just don't be toxic and be good enough to be able to play the sport of basketball, which in college you can't do that. The best teams in college play as a unit, not as 5 individuals that fit into a scheme, which is kind of what Vandy did. And I think you saw some of that with the poor shooting is people are throwing up shots because, hey, I'm going to get mine, right? And I'm not saying they were I'm not saying they're ultra selfish, and I'm not saying they're like diva type players like you would get. I know that kind of sounded like that, but it just seemed very disjointed at times. And that's something that is going to be a requirement for the new coach is to make sure that if you shore up that, the shooting will improve, the assists will improve, the ball movement, you'll look like a team. What Mike White has done at Georgia is remarkable because Georgia looked like Vandy did. Georgia last year looked like Vandy does this year, where it looks like they had no idea who each other were. Mike White comes in, first year's a little rough, but you could tell that they're playing together. Second year is even better, and it looks like they're definitely playing together. They're definitely communicating. They've got some answers in the boards. They just ran out of gas at times. What Vanderbilt needs to do is they just need to build their roster, understand that, hey, we got to play good team basketball. We got to have better shot selection, and we've got to keep ourselves in these games. As you build the roster, things will happen. You've got to get fans back in the seats. Vandy fans back in the seats. Not Tennessee fans, not Kentucky fans, not Alabama fans. Vandy fans back in those seats in Memorial. You need to reinvent Memorial Magic. Who that guy is going to be, I think Will Wade's a perfect candidate. I think Dusty May would be a perfect candidate for that too. Get back Memorial Magic. Everything else will fall into place, right? And what I really like about him, and one of the things that's going to be a factor is NIL. And we'll get to that here in a second. So why Dusty May is going to be awesome with NIL. We'll talk about that here in just a second. All right. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week we're picking one team that stands out, a team that has pushed it further than the rest, just like any of all of the all-new Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. The Yukon Huskies can only be described as an armada. This top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they've landed the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They're one of the favorites to win it all, despite four of the 6 Power 6 conference champions standing in their way in the East region. It is a brutal region. They're right. The Auburn Tigers can only be described as the Pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and have really created a lane for themselves after claiming the top spot in the SEC. Very, very good conference. As they knocked off the Florida Gators in the SEC tournament championship, they're set to make a run in the NCAA tournament. The Oregon Ducks are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. The team absolutely surprises all with a powerful performance in the final Pac-12 tournament, punching their ticket to the big dance. They say win life, go Rogue. That's exactly what the Ducks have done. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. And it's in here somewhere. We're talking Amazon Fire TV. It is your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the Fire Stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. So Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences as well. Fire TV channels let you dive into all the games, analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on the latest in the world of college sports. March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. So not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. These are all the things you can get on Fire TV channels. So check them out. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me. To learn more, visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Man, it's really, really, really a great deal. So you should do it. All right, welcome back. Segment number 2. Hey, get this. Did you know that the Bracket Showdown show is now available on the Locked On College Basketball podcast? If you're filling out your brackets, you need to watch this. Experts Andy Patton and Isaac Shade will break down their brackets and discuss everything you need to know to fill out a winning bracket and prepare for this year's NCAA tournament. So find the Locked On Bracket Breakdown now on Locked On College Basketball Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. So thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Check out Locked On SEC. Spring practices are in full swing, so you might want to get over there and check them out as well. So the last little bit. Now, FAU is dancing for the third time in a row after a Final Four bid. Dusty May has got them again in the NCAA tournament. So one of the things that really kind of stood out with Dusty May, and I think this will help because Vandy's got 3 guys in the portal right now. The headliners, Jason Rivera-Torres. And I think when you're dealing with the new age of NIL and you're dealing with roster retention, I think Dusty May would be great for this. Will Wade would obviously be great at this. That's why I think these 2 guys are home runs. But one of the things that stood out, as I said before our break, Dusty May was able to retain his entire team. Now it's, in the world of college athletics, basketball probably more so than football, but the transfer portal is insane right now. It's out of control. There's a lot of people in it. There's a lot of people jumping ship for various reasons, good, bad, ugly, great, whatever. People are jumping in the NBA, NFL draft. People are going because they don't like the coach. People are going because they're getting an NIL deal somewhere else. Like, there's all kind of stuff. And what he's done a really good job of at Florida Atlantic is they've kind of built a little NIL nest egg. Now, it obviously doesn't compare to one like Kentucky or Texas or like anything like that, but he knows how to navigate the NIL stuff. He knows how to – he's kind of like the new age recruiter a little bit. He's not going to go out and land a bunch of 5 stars because he's a recruiting guru and he's like some, he understands how to play the NIL game. Let's just cut straight to it, right? And Vandy's going to give him NIL pots. They're going to give him chances. They're going to participate in NIL more so than they ever have. Football is already doing it. Baseball has done it where they've got some transfers, and those transfers are absolutely crushing for Vanderbilt. They've gotten some of the freshmen that probably could have gone in the draft. They're in college now because of NIL. So you have to, like, in order to do it, like Tim Corbin has kind of figured it out. Tim Corbin is just, he may walk on water at this point. But you have to understand the ins and outs of it. You have to understand how to compete within that world. And I think Vandy can, in basketball, you get 2 really good guys. You get 2 really solid talents, and you have a really good chance to do something special. You can turn a roster around pretty drastically with just 2 to 3 big-time recruits because those guys bring a lot out of your role players. And with the culture that's going to likely be in place, if you get Dusty May, you're also going to have these superstars come in and on top of that, and they're going to, they're going to add this talent bump to the mix. And then you're going to have a roster that's actually pretty dangerous. And so with NIL, you have a chance to market to Nashville, which he will do. You have a chance to market into the medical field, and you have a chance to market these guys into industries around Nashville, the music business, things like that. You're able to market these guys into those industries, into those worlds, and open up sponsorship opportunities for them, offer up NIL deals, opportunities to them. There's a whole new world of things that will be at their fingertips if the right person is there to push the buttons and pull the levers. You know what I mean? So I think Dusty May is one of those guys. Will Wade is one of those guys. Pat Kelsey could probably be one of those guys. We'll take a deeper dive into what he brings to the table. But I think it's good. I think it's a really, really good thing for him. I think Dusty May has proven at FAU, like, hey, I can go to this program and we can go to the Final Four at FAU. Imagine what I can do for your school that sits in a prime location that's about to open up a ton of NIL and in the premier conference in sports. So that's just a couple of things to consider there. So speaking of NIL and teams that are taking advantage of it, the football team is really kind of taking advantage of NIL, but they're doing something a little different in the spring. They're not going to have a formal spring game. Is that going to be a problem? We'll see. We are presented by FanDuel. That is correct. You got it, man. FanDuel. So say goodbye to your busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament. And I would love to say goodbye to my busted brackets because mine get busted pretty easy every single year. I think 2 years ago, I thought they were going to be broken and I ended up winning. But this past season, it was bad. I was out in the second round. Like I didn't have a chance. So I digress. So whether you're betting on a big upset or a one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So that's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. Seems like it's pretty awesome. So, yeah, FanDuel, do it. All right, welcome back. Thank you for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. I want to thank, speaking of every day, I want to thank the everydayers, man. You guys are crushing it for me, man. I'm up over 200 subscriptions. Let's keep pressing that. Let's keep pushing that number because I think there's some special things in store if you do. If I become the biggest Vandy podcast out there, you're going to benefit from that. And so follow us on social media at Locked On Vandy on X and Instagram. Follow me personally at Coach Burton36. So I'm going to have Kurt Page on very, very soon, kind of once all this basketball dust settles a little bit. We're going to talk some football, maybe, somewhere in the middle of spring practice, just to kind of get a barometer on what's going on. But it was announced, the spring schedule was announced. They have practice every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday for the next 4 weeks. They have they're not going to do a formal spring game. Instead of a spring game, they're going to do 3 scrimmages. So they're going to have the first week is going to be 3 practices, and then it's basically scrimmages every Saturday, starting with April 6th, 13th, and the last one is that next Saturday, the 20th, I think, or the 19th or 21st or somewhere in that range. So they're not going to have a formal spring game, which, in all honesty, I think there's a million different ways to do spring practice. It's going to be weird because I think it's something that the fans really kind of get excited about. I don't like that it's going to be closed to the public. And I don't like that media is going to have limited interaction with these scrimmages. I don't like that. I don't mind the format. I think it is what it is. I mean, the spring game is just a scrimmage that everybody gets to see. But I think that there should be something that, you allow season ticket holders to attend at least one of these scrimmages. Like you open two of them up, you find some way, you get creative. Like there's a lot of big brain people over there, but you get creative and you find ways to get people involved in watching your practices, because the more positive attention you get on your program, the more support you'll get, and the more support you'll get, the better I think things will go. People want to get a glimpse of what Nate Johnson's going to bring to the table. People are going to want to get a glimpse of the newcomers like Randon Fontenette, Corday Sindor, the receivers, Dylan and Foungy. They want to get a look at what the offensive line is going to look like, how the defense is running under Clark Lee, how this new staff is gelling together. Like people want to see all of this. And I think either you should like televise it, maybe like live stream it. If you wanted to, you could probably live stream it for like $5 somewhere. Like you could do like a premium live stream and make a ton of money. Like you could do something like that. Like something like the fans need a little bit of access. That's the great thing about spring games. Like you can bring the families, it's a day, and I understand why they're not doing it. I think a lot of it has to do with the construction, and they don't want to be on the game field. And they're doing these scrimmages. They're not doing them at Vanderbilt. They're doing them off campus. So Lipscomb Academy is going to host one on April 6th, and then Innsworth is going to host two of them. I might see if I can go to one of these Innsworth because I coached Innsworth. So I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be interesting. I don't love that the fans can't participate in it. I think they've got to find some way to make them interactive. I just don't know. I just don't know. But there's got to be a way, right? There's some talk about it being strategic and not unveiling the new offensive scheme, which I don't know. Like these spring games, I don't think people really give you much. Everyone's going to have access to all your tape anyway, so it doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't think it's anything strategic. I think it's just because their stadium is under massive construction right now. They don't want to disrupt any of that, and they want to get their scrimmages in. And so I think people tend to overthink that kind of stuff. And so with that being said, I don't know that it's a huge deal. So, but I am excited nonetheless. Spring practice starts today, the first practice. So it'll be the first acclimation practice where you're in shorts and shorts, jersey, and helmet. So you're just kind of running around, just getting loose and doing basic drills and getting guys comfortable with just practicing again, getting the new guys involved in the system, like starting to kind of figure out. I know there's, with all these changes, I'm sure there's going to be changes to practice structure. I'm sure there's going to be changes to meetings, installs. Like you're going to have to kind of revamp a lot of stuff just with your logistics of practice and practice days and things like that. They're going to want to get things right for the fall. So, like I said, lots of new faces, lots of new ways of doing things, which is exciting, but it happens. It's what they need. And that'll be, it'll be fine. Let's just throw it. It'll be fine. Right. I wish we could see it, but ultimately it will be fine. They'll figure it out. So that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Vandy podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you, everydayers, for making this possible. Follow me on social media. Subscribe. Find us wherever you find your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell a friend. All of the above. It's going to be a pretty awesome ride for us here on the Locked On Vandy podcast. So this basketball thing is raging on. We're gonna go on basketball until they find a candidate. We're gonna celebrate it, and I think Vandy's in good shape to make a good hire here. So stay tuned for all of that. We'll continue to talk that spring practice, a little bit of baseball. We got some exciting stuff happening from here until the end of April with the major three sports all together. The women's team, we got to root them on in the tournament. They play in a play-in game against Columbia up in Blacksburg, Virginia. So that'll be fun as well. So with that said, we're gonna wrap this thing up. So we hope you have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you back here for a Hump Day edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for listening. Anchor down.